hope you will enjoy it. I know you will enjoy it. So go ahead, take a listen, and hope you guys have a happy holidays.
How you doing tonight, Aaron?
I'm doing good, Justin. How are you?
I'm doing all right. Tonight's case, we're looking at Beverly Hills, California. It's a very nice area, if you haven't been. August 20th, 1989. This is before we've heard a term called affluenza. Before O.J. Simpson. This has probably been up in our top 10 most requested cases, I think. Maybe top 5, I don't know. What are we talking about tonight, Aaron?
The Menendez brothers case, which involved the 1989 slayings of Jose and Kitty Menendez, which were the parents of Lyle and Eric Menendez. Eric was 18 years old at the time, and Lyle was 21. The Menendez estate was valued at more than $14 million.
On this night, Lyle and Eric, armed with shotguns, enter their parents' home. They point their weapons at their parents, who are sitting on the couch watching a James Bond movie, and they begin to shoot their parents with these pump-action shotguns.
Yeah, 12-gauge shotguns. It is said that Jose didn't even know this happened. He died immediately.
Now, their mother, Kitty, she actually jumped up and tried to run away after the initial volley of blasts coming at them. She was injured, but she tried to escape, and we know this because there was blood in the tread of her sneakers. So Lyle and Eric had to reload. I think they had to go back out to their car and grab more ammo and reload.
They didn't have extra shotgun shells on them, so they had to go back out to the car and get more.
To finish off their mother.
Right, and I believe Eric handed the ammunition to his brother Lyle, who loaded the shotgun and then proceeded to go inside and finished off his own mother.
So this isn't really a heat of the moment type deal. This isn't a break. This is... They had shotguns, and they went in, and they slaughtered their parents. So, after they shoot their parents, they end up calling 911. And you can find this phone call. It's readily available pretty much anywhere, and any documentary about this case. And they tell the dispatchers that they have come home to find their parents have been murdered.
Yeah, they had said they had gone out to the movies, and then, as you said, had come home and found their parents murdered.
So what movie did they say they went out and saw?
Well, they had planned to go see Batman, but it was sold out. I mean, I don't know if you remember at the time, but that movie was huge when it came out. It was Tim Burton's Batman. This was 1989. So they went to another movie, which was a James Bond film titled License to Kill.
We know they're lying to dispatchers. They're screaming and yelling and playing off that they found their parents. And it's just ironic that they would say that, oh, we went to a Bond movie, when that just happens to be the same movie that, not the same movie, but another James Bond movie that their parents are watching. Just a little connection there. I know you're a big Bond movie fan, so.
We know that they planned to kill their parents, but at the time when police showed up, they didn't admit to killing their parents.
No, they stick to their story that they find their parents when they came home. They were at this James Bond movie, and they were at this movie, and They even go so far as to insinuate that it might be a mob hit because of some of the wounds to their parents, which includes shooting them in the kneecap. And I guess that's a technique that it's claimed mobsters will use. You cap them. The police truly believe that what they're seeing is a cold-blooded murder, and they believe these two very affluent, rich, everyone calls them the boys and kids, but they're adults. What the police won't do is do a preemptive gunshot residue test on either one of their hands. They won't search their cars, which that's where they put the shotguns after they murdered their parents, was in the trunk of their cars.
Yeah, they actually ended up ditching those shotguns near Mulholland Drive. And they did that before they went to buy tickets at the movie theater.
This is to try to establish their alibi of why they weren't home at the time of the murder. So this is around 10 o'clock at night.
All we can say is the investigators did talk to them for hours, but, you know, there's so much they missed. And I think it's because sometimes, and I'm sure anybody can make mistakes, but there was a lot of assuming going on. They assumed that these sons were very distraught by the murders of their parents and that they weren't likely to be involved. And I don't know if them being part of a wealthy family had something to do with that. I kind of want to say yes.
I think that's a huge factor. This is Beverly Hills. They're living in a mansion with tennis courts out back. You change this situation. You put this murder anywhere else. I think the police are going to be questioning the guys, whoever finds the victims, and probably testing their hands, but who knows?
The investigators spoke with neighbors, and they had reported hearing something around 10 p.m., bangs, but they thought it was just kids playing with fireworks or something. But that's about the time that this couple was murdered.
Yeah. They probably don't know what gunfire sounds like.
Jose had been shot 5 or 6 times with shotguns, and his wife Kitty had been shot about 10 times.
Jose's unrecognizable. They pretty much blew his head off. Kitty, similar situation. It's gruesome.
Yeah, Kitty was shot in the face. And so you look at this crime and you think, this is a crime of hatred or of payback. So when Lyle called the police, he called about 11:30 p.m. And as we already said, he sounded really upset. In fact, they had trouble understanding him because he was so upset on the phone. And we've talked before about 911 calls and how people sound and this and that, but this is a distraught person on the phone. I mean, if someone just played that call and didn't give me any other information...
It sounds serious. It sounds legit. And it's hard to determine anything off a 911 call. Anyone that says, oh, I can tell they're lying, it's like, okay, whatever. In this case, we know the truth going in. So it's easy to dismantle his call. But he's a good actor. And guess what? Shooting your parents or killing somebody is a very high-stress situation. And you can use that to influence your heightened, state and cry and scream and yell. And it sounds and looks legit because you are distraught because you've just done something that's terrible.
There were a couple of detectives assigned to this case. Unfortunately for them, this whole mob hit angle didn't really work. They couldn't find any way to establish that there was a connection here other than it does look like it could have been a mob hit. That was just a preview. To listen to the rest of Why on Apple Podcasts today.
Thinking Sideways is not brought to you by Washery Tarts Distributing Swords. Instead, it's brought to you by Universal Pictures, which is coming out with a new movie called The Snowman, which hits the theaters on October 20th, 2017. The Snowman is based on the book by Joe Nesbo. It's a Norwegian book, but apparently it's in English too, and the movie's going to be in English. And it's about a psycho killer who murders his victims during the first snowfall of every winter. Again, the Snowman opens October 20th, 2017. I'll expect to see you there. It's also brought to you by ourselves and our little get-together this weekend being October 14th, 2017 at 6:30 p.m. at the Lucky Labrador Pub on Killingsworth in Portland. So again, we're going to be there, hopefully at least, unless we get in a car wreck, and we'll see you all there. Right? So again, October 14th, 2017, Lucky Lab, Killingsworth. See you there. Thinking sideways.
Well, hey there, and welcome again to another episode of Thinking Sideways. I am Steve, of course, joined by
Devin.
Joe.
And once again, we have a creepy story for you. A creepy Halloween mystery for you, even.
Boo.
Because, not boo, it's week 2, not week boo, of our Halloween series, Joe.
And I didn't mean boo to week 2. I just meant boo. I was trying to scare our listeners.
Yeah,
Like a ghost.
yeah. It was a ghostly joke. I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. Well, this is week 2, so just like last week, we're going to bring you a creepy, scary story.
What we think is creepy and scary.
Yeah, what we
It's kind of creepy.
Yeah. So there is a little bit here that I'd say maybe could qualify as a little ear warning. So use your discretion.
Yeah, that's right. If you have little ears, don't listen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you have little ears, go see your doctor.
So now that Joe's done with that, let's start this week's story, which is the discussion of the Miyazawa family murders, which you will also see in some places referred to as the Setagaya murders. And this is a set of murders that happened in Tokyo, Japan in 2000.
A while back.
Yeah, quite a while back. And we got a lot of suggestions for this. I looked at the list and we had it suggested by Allie, Barry, Hannah, and Morgan. And then I also want to send out a big thanks to our experts. Adrian, she helped me out a lot with pronunciation, as did Morgan, because he sent me a bunch of stuff to help out, which was phenomenal, because otherwise I'd have butchered some things.
Different Morgan
And
or
Morgan-
same Morgan?
Yeah, Morgan also sent us a bunch of pictures.
Yeah!
Yeah.
Yeah,
Morgan
went
actually
on
went
site.
to the neighborhood and took pictures of the house and everything.
On-site
It was pretty
investigation.
awesome. Yeah.
It's taken it to the next expert level.
It's great.
So let's get on with it, shall we?
Yeah.
All right. So our story takes place on December 30th, 2000. As I said before, in a place known as Setagaya, which is a ward of Tokyo, Japan. It's roughly 6 to 10 miles, or if you convert that, it's 10 to 15 kilometers southwest of Tokyo. The home of our victims is in what is today known as Kamisoshigaya Park, which is a small park in a kind of suburban neighborhood.
Yeah, along a river.
Yeah,
There's a-
along the Sen River. Yeah. And originally this community where this home was, it was about 200 homes, but there were some changes in the neighborhood and the homes will, as you'll find out, were being removed to expand the park.
Which is always so weird in in a place that's so crunched for living space as the areas around Tokyo.
I wonder. I was sort of wondering about that too. I was wondering if maybe they discovered that the houses were in a floodplain, so they figured, oh, screw it, we'll make it a park.
I don't know.
I've
I did
been
also.
wondering about
I
that.
saw in quite a lot of places where they're like, this is very unusual,
It
because
is.
the local governance was buying the homes from these people to expand this once rather. It was like a baseball diamond and then another small green space, and it just kept expanding south along the River Sen, and just. I mean, they decided to take all the homes out.
Yeah.
But it is unusual.
Although, as we live in a place where public parks are like a huge thing, and
goodness.
They're all over the
I
place,
can
yeah.
understand why you would want more of those. Plus,
Yeah.
the River Sen is the reason that we have Spirited Away. So
Yes.
Yeah, true that. But what's weird about the park too is that the actual because I've gone and looked at it on Street View.
Oh, yeah.
what?
And the actual, I know, believe it or not, they're making kind of a half-hearted attempt, because the original subdivision, there's a street that goes through it and then parallel to the river essentially, and there's a lot of little short streets, dead ends that stub out from that towards the river, and there are houses lining those little streets. Well, those stub streets are still there. You'd think they would tear those out and put grass or something in there.
Yeah, it is strange that they tore out all the homes, but then they didn't actually follow through on the actual development of it. And, I always go on Google Earth, and so I look through the satellite images in time sequence, and you can see the homes disappear, and then really not much of anything happened. So it's weird. It's like something stalled.
Maybe it's that last house. There's that one guy in the neighborhood that just won't sell and just won't move out, and the whole project is held up by him.
But that was not this family.
As we will discover in our story, there is at least one house left, but let's not get ahead of ourselves here, okay? So, as we've been talking about, there's this push to get all the homes in that neighborhood out because they want a development as the park. Mm-hmm. At the time of our story, from what I can tell from reporting and imagery, there's about a dozen homes left, though not all of them were occupied. Mm-hmm. People had been selling their homes for, a decent amount of money and finding new homes somewhere else, but of course they hadn't got around to bulldozing them all.
Right.
So the family in question here, though, the Miyazawas, they had been in their home for about 10 years at this point. But like all the rest of their neighbors, they were intending to sell. The reporting says that their plan was to be out of the house by March of 2001. So they were already planning to get out. Sale was in the process. So it wasn't as if they were a holdout in any way, shape, or form. So within a couple months. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it was just a couple of months away.
I feel that's reasonable, right? I mean, you have to buy another house, you have to the logistics of moving all your stuff, and it sounds like they had family that lived right next door, right?
Correct.
Yeah, they did.
So it's a double logistics at that point, right?
Yeah, and we'll talk about the house, but where their house was on, as Joe would describe it, the little stub street, there were actually 4 residences side by side in a row. And so this
they're townhouses. Townhouses.
No, they were actually independent homes. They weren't
share
connected.
Walls?
No, not all of them shared walls.
They look like townhouses. They're tall and skinny.
But there was not. The Miyazawa's house had a shared wall within itself, which we'll talk about. But the other 2 on the other side, or 2 or 3, they were separate. They weren't all joined up.
Gotcha. Okay.
So the family in our story, who we've talked about a little bit, but we're actually going to meet now. It's a family of 4. We have the parents, a 44-year-old Mikio Miyazawa, his wife, 41-year-old Yasuko. They had 2 children, 8-year-old Nina and 6-year-old boy Ray. Technically, this is where we were just getting at. Like I said, there was a shared wall. Their home was actually more of what we in the U.S. would call a duplex.
Yeah.
There were no internal doorway between one home and the other. There was unique or separate front entrances to the 2 homes, and they shared a dividing wall.
Like duplexes here in the States.
Yeah, exactly, but there was no in between.
Or townhouse,
Yeah, a lot like that as well. And this will come to play later on in our story, because the folks that live next door are family. And we'll,
we're family.
Yeah, they are family. It was Yasuko's mother, her sister, and her brother-in-law. So Yasuko's sister and then Yasuko's brother-in-law were the ones that lived in that home next door.
And their mom.
Right.
And
Yasuko's mother.
Right.
Yes.
That's
three adults.
That's a very Japanese thing.
Yes.
You take
absolutely.
care of the elders of your family.
Mm-hmm. So it's traditionally it makes total sense. Okay. I'm stumbling a little bit here because we're about to dive into a lot of the case, and there are a lot of details because the Japanese CSI apparently are the best in the world, and they gather amazing amounts of details, but that makes this story a little hard to follow because there are so many details, and we're going to do our best to keep this as straight as possible. But, if you're doing something else and you're not paying attention, be careful because you may miss something and then be dropped and lost about what's going on in the story.
What's unique about this guy, too, is the murderer made no attempt. Am I giving anything away by saying murderer?
No. We've already said it's a family murder, so no cliffhanger there.
He made no attempt to cover his tracks whatsoever. It seems like he left a huge amount of evidence, physical evidence, behind.
And somehow
And somehow we
Still
don't know who he
mystery.
is.
And
Yeah.
still, I
Yeah.
know. It's funny.
But if you're driving, or I know a lot of you guys like listen while you work. I listen to stuff while I work.
Be prepared to hit the back button.
Yeah,
To rewind a little
yeah.
bit.
Especially if you fall asleep to Joe's soothing voice. The good news is it's going to be mostly Steve
You're
talking,
right,
so
it's
you will
really
not
heavy.
fall asleep.
No,
Yeah.
my voice is not soothing.
No.
It's got that
reaching
kind of
for-
high nasally pitch that
Yeah.
everybody loves.
Everybody loves it.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
it drives you away.
yeah.
I know.
Okay, well let's
Let's talk about the story.
Yeah, let's
back
get
enough
into
about
the
crazy.
story. There, you will see this story ordered in a number of different ways across the internet. I, however, am going to start on the most important date, which is the 30th of December 2000.
It was a dark and stormy night.
No, actually,
wasn't?
it was kind of a nice day.
Oh, really?
In Japan in December?
No,
sure.
I
I
just
was
wanted
gonna say.
to throw him off.
Japan in December is kind of like Portland in December.
Kind of like cold.
Yeah.
It's like rainy and cold usually.
So the 30th of December, it's the day before the celebration of the new millennium in Japan, because they celebrated it between 2000 to 2001, unlike us here in the States, which was 99 to 2000.
Right.
But for the family, it was just another day. They were going about their business. They went to the market for a while. They then came home. I think they got home at about like 6:30 in the evening. Around 7 o'clock that night, Yasuko called her mother next door to see if Nina could come over, because Nina wanted to watch a television show that had been recorded on Grandma's computer. So Nina goes over, watches the TV show, and is home by, it's reported, about 9:40 at night.
Too bad she didn't stay later, huh?
Oh, you know what? I think she would have had to stay much, much later to avoid what's going to happen here.
A couple
Agreed.
of hours anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. We know that evening, Mikio, the father, he was working on his computer, which was in the first floor of the house. Mm-hmm. We know that he was working because an email was received by the computer that required a password to open, and that's, that leads everybody down the path of, well, it must have been from his job.
Probably.
Because Mikio, he worked for a company called Interbrand, which is a multinational branding company.
A really creatively named branding company.
But they are actually a creative company. I mean, they
Yeah.
actually, I didn't know this.
Interbrand.
But I didn't know this until I did all the research on this. Do you know who came up and branded the term Wi-Fi?
Them.
Well, who's that?
Interbrand.
Oh my God! They
So
changed the world.
They changed a successful company to be in
Actually,
multiple countries like that and have that kind of thing happen.
We should call them, because I've been thinking about our brand. I think we need to, make it better somehow.
Okay.
We should name it Wi-Fi.
There you go.
Wi-Fi,
Okay.
the podcast.
Welcome to Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
But it's also not unheard of. I mean, Japanese, that's like a very stereotypical Japanese thing that like men tend to work absurdly long
All the
hours. I mean,
time.
like very often they have a different apartment in the city. They work just crazy hours. They work themselves to death often. And so the fact that he would have been working at 10:45 p.m. on
Not surprising.
like on a holiday, not surprising at all.
No.
Pretty typical.
And nothing that I have read indicates that he was some high-powered executive or creative. Yeah, I get the feeling that he was just another cog in
Just
the
a
machine
middleman.
who just worked all the time.
And that is the typical thing, right? Is that like the guys who are super, super high up, they don't seem to work. I mean, just same in America, right? Like they don't seem to work that much. But the guys who are kind of
Guys
in the middle,
yeah.
they're the ones who work themselves to death. They're
Right.
the ones who just go crazy.
Yeah, I don't think he was the tiniest of cogs in the corporation though, because
But he was not a big wig.
But if you look at their house,
Well, they lived in the suburbs, though.
yeah. Oh, I guess that's true. Okay, well, forget it.
Yeah, he was
But
a
he was
good
middle
distance
management
away from
anyway.
town. Yeah, so it doesn't
Yeah.
matter. The point here is that Mikio is working
And he was alive at 10:45
at 10:45 because.
Well, assuming the killer didn't kill him beforehand and didn't happen to torture the
No,
password
we're
out of
pretty
him.
sure that none of that
That was
happened,
him.
Joe. We're pretty
Yeah.
sure that
Yeah.
the times that things took place.
All right,
So
Joe.
I appreciate the excitement there, but no.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So Mikio's on the first floor. He's on the computer. His son Ray is asleep in the second floor in one of the bunk beds, or one of the beds in the bunk bed. I don't know what the correct verbiage is for that.
Japanese families have bunk beds too?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Everybody has bunk beds.
Yeah,
It's an
everybody-
efficient use of space.
It
It
is. It's believed that Yasuko and Nino were up in the third-story bedroom, which, to be honest, that third-story bedroom really is just a converted attic space that has a bed and a TV in it.
And it's a weird access point, but we'll talk about that.
Yeah, well, yeah, you do climb up a ladder to get
Yeah.
to it. Yeah, absolutely. So at some point after the email, so this is where the family is, and then at some point after that email came in, spoiler alert, somebody came in and murdered the entire family.
That's why we call it a massacre.
Remember I told you that the park was expanding around the home? Well,
I do.
directly behind the home, and this is based on the police investigation. This is how they think this might have happened. But there's a rather tall chain link fence abutting the back of the house. And what they think happened is our killer climbed the fence, then hopped the short distance from the fence to the home and either caught a hold of an electrical conduit, kind of one of those bigger tubes of electrical wires that goes up the side of the house, or maybe there's an AC unit is there as well, might have got from one to the other.
Okay.
And then from there,
And then how far was his leap from the fence to the wall of the house?
it's maybe
Like a
4 foot.
reasonable leap.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
not a
I just-
huge distance.
I'm not thinking about being able to. I'm just thinking about doing it without making a huge thud noise. When you do it.
I could very easily see, let's say it's about 4 foot, I could see somebody kind of standing-ish on the top pole of the chain link fence, and then slowly leaning forward with their hands forward to then take the cushion of the impact and pull them back and then pull themselves up. It would be possible. Plus, there's some people listening to TV, stuff like that.
And maybe our killer was kind of small and
Or stealthy.
Didn't weigh too much.
Let's say they're stealthy.
some ninja type. Yeah, maybe. Actually, if they did get in this way, then it is kind of ninja.
It is kind of ninja-like.
Pupa, yeah.
So, shimmies up the pipe across the AC unit, and the second story bathroom window was open. So our bad guy goes through that window into the second story bathroom. This is where the story will kind of diverge and we'll bring it together, but according to the official version, what happens here is the killer comes out of the bathroom, turns, walks across the landing at the top of the second story stairs into the bedroom where Ray is at and smothers him.
6-year-old.
6-year-old Ray. At some point in the process of smothering Ray, must have made some kind of strange noises. Probably Ray struggling because he's being smothered.
Die. He kept saying, oops, did I say that out loud?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, at this point, Mikio apparently must have heard something because he gets up from the computer and he walks up to walks up the stairs. At which point, he finds the killer. Now, the killer has with him a sashimi knife, which is a thinner, long blade, single-sided bladed knife. It sounds like in this particular instance, it was a bamboo-handled knife.
I have a question.
Yeah,
How do they know the killer brought it with them?
because it was in the home after the fact, and it wasn't one of their belongings.
How do
How do
they
you know
that?
I'm guessing that the family said, that's not their knife. That doesn't match any of the knives that they have in the home.
Here's a question.
Yes,
We're at Joe's house once a week,
we're not Joe's family, but okay.
but do you think you could say, like, oh, that's not Joe's?
For reasons of plausible deniability, I never looked through Joe's knife drawer.
Yeah,
Okay.
right, you don't.
I'm just saying, like, in our house, right, like, we have a knife block
Uh-huh.
that has a full set of knives, and then we have like duplicates of knives that we've gone to. You guys know Fubon.
Oh, yeah.
So we go and buy knives there, like, honestly, once every 6 months, because once the knife that we buy, it's like $5, this knife, right? And it's great for 6 months, but it's like way cheaper to just.
It's not worth it to try and
It's not.
sharpen
It's
them.
really not, you know.
Yeah.
And we have a number of knives that are like that. That frankly, I don't think anybody in this world could say, like, other than the two of us, could say that is or is not part of this collection.
There is, but the investigators will link that knife to a store not far away, and it appears to have been recently purchased.
Sure, but I'm just saying, like,
I understand what
you
you're
go to
saying.
Goodwill,
They
you
went to
get
the
a
market
knife.
that day. Maybe they bought a new knife or they're at the
Right.
market. But the thing is, also, if indeed if in this version of the beginning of our story, the killer did not bring the knife with them, and so smothers Ray, and then Mikio comes upstairs, well, that means Mikio must have brought the knife upstairs, which is a
does.
little weird.
Why?
Because he's in his own home and he hears a weird noise and he has a family. Not many normal family men come stalking up the stairs when they hear a weird house in their family full of people.
Unless
with
they
a knife.
hear somebody, as Joe said, going, die, die.
Yeah.
True.
I mean, because we don't know,
It's true.
right?
Well,
Everybody that was a witness to this crime is
So,
dead.
okay.
I'm
also-
sorry, I'm trying to do the
I
devil's
understand it.
advocate
So-
thing.
Oh, go ahead.
And also you don't even know that he attacked Mikio at the top of the stairs with a knife. He might have just jumped him, knocked him down the stairs, and then gone and run and got the knife, and then come back and started
I
stabbing
thought there
him.
was blood down the stairs.
There's blood.
Yeah.
There's blood involved from
Oh,
the
is there
top
blood
of the
involved?
stairs.
Okay.
Okay, so
Well,
let's for now
so
let's
let's just-
proceed.
I'm willing to stipulate that he brought the knife.
Okay,
with him.
let's
And he
presume.
also, by the way, was incompetent in his choice of knife. Not a good assassin.
No.
Okay,
Yeah.
so bad guy, bad assassin shows up with the sashimi knife.
Which is just a bad tool.
Okay, but he kills Ray, and according to this narrative, Mikio comes upstairs, at which point encounters the killer. The killer then slashes at Mikio and apparently cut him several times on the shoulders and the neck. Mikio then falls down the stairs, and when his body is found, he's dead at the bottom of the stairs.
Yeah.
There's an alternate version of this portion of the story, which is it is possible that, and this kind of goes towards maybe what you were heading for, Devin, is that our killer came in through the first floor, or through the front door, and chased Mikio up the stairs, apparently along the way grabbing the knife that was in their home, and then kills him and knocks him down the stairs. Now, in a way, that to me almost makes a little more sense, because what's weird is that if the guy came into the house with a knife, why would he go to the bother of smothering Ray rather than just cutting his throat and being done with it fast? If you know what I'm getting at here?
I think that actually smothering him makes sense. I mean, because you cover his mouth with a pillow and everything. He can't yell out or anything like that. And he's only 6 years old. He can't really, fight back to any huge degree. I would think it'd be fairly, actually quieter potentially than slitting his throat.
It also leaves less evidence.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But-
and the thing is, I don't remember anything about there actually being blood on Mikio or the sheets around him. So this version probably, what I think is probably the easier version, is probably wrong.
I frankly, I am not willing to rule out the fact that Mikio came up the stairs with a knife. I've lived in places, and maybe this is just because I do this podcast. I don't know.
You've
right?
always got a
But,
knife in your hand, do
no,
you?
I don't always. But every once in a while, I've definitely heard sounds in my own house when my significant other is not there, where I've thought, I'm taking that gun that we have in our bedroom, and I'm gonna go investigate what that sound is.
Good idea.
Whether or not it's he got home early, it's the wind, like whatever. There have definitely been times in my life where I've thought, I'm just going to take a weapon with me just in
Is
case.
this why we refer to him sometimes fondly as Nine Toes? Because you
'Cause I've
accidentally shot one off?
Yeah, no. But I mean, like, I don't know if that's just unique to like me being a paranoid female, or like, or if there are other people in
I'm
this
nodding.
world. I know you are, but I do think that there are people in this world who, the normal sounds. You even know the normal sounds of your 6-year-old having a night terror versus something's wrong. So maybe you grab the sashimi knife. I'm not willing to necessarily discount that he brought it up and it got wrestled out of his hand and then he got killed with it, which is why they always say, don't take your gun because you'll get shot with it.
Yep.
Yeah, I know.
Okay. Well, here's one thing that you need to know about, and this, by the way, is where the two versions of the story kind
It
of
is.
coalesce, because
Yeah.
everything that happens from here forward seems to be pretty well figured out. But during the